Hello and welcome to this gate overview. Today we are exploring gate 25, and this is the gate of innocence. This is the gate of the spirit of the self. And you can see here in the mandala that it is at 9 o'clock with its polarity at gate 46 at 3 o'clock. This is the G center, the diamond at the center of the body graph. It's the center for love, it's the center for identity and direction. Gate 25. It points to the ego center. That's where we find its harmonic. Gate 51, which is the gate of shock. And as I said, the polarity 46 is also in the G center. So here we are. This is the last gate of this adventure that I set out upon a year ago. I have been exploring the energies of the gates as the sun has transited the mandala, diving into each line in its this and that expression. And today, as we move into gate 25, this is the last of my overviews of my transit reports. So gate 25, it's in the individual circuit. It's in a minor circuit that is called centering. It's a circuit that is focused on the self. It has a keynote of being self-empowered rather than empowering as the major individual circuit has. There is a caveat to that. If there is a gate 28 or 38 or the whole channel, either in the same chart or in the aura of someone who comes into the aura of someone who's got the 25, then that sort of mitigates the self-empowerment and makes it more about empowerment. But just on its own as an energy, it's all about the self. So this is the archetype of the spiritual warrior, the shaman, the priestess. It is the potential to love existence without discrimination, where a flower can be loved as deeply as another human being. It's a transcendent and a universal love that can appear cool, it can appear detached, and it is where all is equally deserving of love. The centering of a being depends on the quality of their innocence, and their innocence is tested in the fire of competitive energy. Despite the outward appearances, the true competition here is whether the self can maintain its innocence despite circumstances. The spirit is always being tested. This is the gate of scars. It is the potential to be wounded. When the warrior, who could also be the fool, leaps into the void, it is innocence that must land on its feet. The spirit can be broken, but triumph and survival enrich the spirit and result in the wonder of being. The gate of the spirit of the self is what's called a cusp hexagram because it straddles Pisces and Aries. It is the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end. And the 25th hexagram is part of the cross of the vessel of love. When we look at the love that is rooted in the ego or the love that is rooted in electromagnetic connections, this is a love that is externalized. It has nothing to do with the higher self. It has nothing to do with our connection to the totality, which is focused on the internalization of love. When we look at gate 15, the love of humanity, we find that rather than it being that cliche of love thy neighbor, it is more about being oneself and allowing everyone else to be themselves. It is the love of all diversity that is found in this gate of extremes. This is what generates a healthy aura, a magnetic aura. When it comes to the physical body, then we explore gate 46, which is our Earth during this sun's transit in 25. The greatest dilemma that people have in their life very often is that most human beings do not like the body that they were given. Not just the aesthetic values of the body. It has to do with what seem to be the potentials of the body. You know, whether that's the nature of the brain or the type of metabolism, the shape, the size. It has to do with the fact that so often the body is considered to be a burden, something that must be changed, transmuted, transcended. In order for the body to be healthy, the experience of being in the body has to be accepted without question. And this is the nature of what it is to love oneself in terms of loving what it is to be in the body and to love the flesh of it, the solidity of it, the fact of being here in it. To love the flesh is to accept what one is. And what one is, what one has, is exactly what one is supposed to have. You know, we come in with exactly the right vehicle for this journey that we are here to undertake. It's like when we look at the gates and the channels, if we have channels in our design, what we have is what we are equipped to deal with, regardless of what our mind says. So the vehicle we come in with is the one we're supposed to have, and it's exactly the right one for our karma, for this geometry in life. And the only way in which we are truly going to be healthy is when we surrender to life. We find this in the 46 as well. We surrender to life. And when we've been following the lunar cycle, we've found it's very clear that the splenic gates, you know, they come on one after another in the wheel, and they are all guided by the 46. This is the gate that comes immediately before the splenic cycle. So the potential to surrender to what it is to be alive is followed by the healthy body, because the splenic system is all about being our washing machine, keeping the body clean. Collective love, for the most part, it's not what we think it is, because we can see that the two collective gates of love, the 15 and the 46, they are directly opposite the two individual gates of love, the 10 and the 25, when you look at them in their polarities in the wheel. And this individual process, because we are, you know, individuated beings, and human design is the science of differentiation. We are individuated beings, and it's at the core of our experience to be so. So love is not about our capacity to bring love out into the world. It is about the inside. It is about accepting what it is to be ourself. The 25th gate is very complex. You know, being part of the centering circuit, it is an essential ingredient in turning everything towards individuality. The centering circuit, like the defense circuit, is called a minor circuit. Minor circuits can always be added, or, you know, their influence can always be connected to any other circuit. So the centering circuit, wherever it is present, it always brings things towards individuality. That's the first thing about it. The second thing about the 25th gate is that you can see that the gates of love are constructed out of circuitry that is both individual and collective. There's no tribal possibility here. The tribal possibility to connect to love comes through the 51-25. So the 25 not only represents a capacity to express love for the individual, but it is also the heart of how the love of the self is available to the tribe as well. More than that, the 25th gate has a highly mystical value, which I won't go into here because the structure of the hexagram is seen differently when looking at the mystical value of these gates, when we go through the mystical circuit, and this isn't the place for that. But it is a factor of what the 25 holds, part of its energy. But what we will explore here is not the mystical side of the 25, not really, it's more the mundane side of it. So the heading for the 25th gate, that line above all of the lines in the Ravi Ching, it says, the perfection of action through uncontrived and spontaneous nature. So let's just break that down a little tiny bit. The perfection. I mean, perfection is not a word that you come across very often in the Ravi Ching. And action, I mean, that's an interesting word straight away, because it's like, whoa, action, this is the G center. Why are we talking about action? In the 25th gate, there's no motor here. So it's also through uncontrived. So it's not motivated, it's not made up or predetermined or worked out. And it has a spontaneous nature. And nature is a word that is actually specifically related to the 10th gate. The 25th gate and the 10th gate have a deep connection to each other because they are both about the possibility of centering the nature of humanity, centering the behavior of the individual so that the individual can survive in the world. There's a lot to contemplate here. The grounding for this sun transit through gate 25 is in the earth in the gate 46, the gate of determination, the love gate of the body, the temple. It tells us that good fortune that may be perceived as the result of serendipity, but derives from effort and dedication. So this is the gate of serendipity, of recognizing that beginning with one's own body is the body as temple, that we are always in the right place at the right time. This can be a gate of discovery and good fortune, but that is all dependent on the determination of the self. In the channel with gate 29, the abstract process can find its promise or its chaos. The determination to accept that one is in the right place is deeply spiritual. It's a surrender to the cycle. And in that surrender is the potential for discovery. And it is also clear that unless the abstract being can accept and commit themselves to a cycle and to the cyclical nature of their lives, their bodies will begin to fail under the stress of constant crisis and disappointment and the upheaval that that brings. So to maintain the body, its physical graces, its diet, its comfort, its shelter, this can be an ordeal. We all know that. It requires effort and dedication. To be dedicated to the body is to be dedicated to life, to being in life. And what the 46 is all about is that it is being in the experience that brings the good fortune. It's not necessarily the experience itself. And this is often misunderstood. If you look for something to come out of your life, nothing will come. But if you are in your life, everything becomes possible. This is about being in the body and accepting its way. And it is through being completely in the body that innocence and unconditional love can be grounded. Because there is nothing else to do but be. And so here we are, working our way through the lines now of gate 25. If you'd like to join me in a little while, I'll be posting gate 25 in the first line. And that's where we are for the next 6 days, working through this unconditional love and innocence. And when we get to the end, that's it for me. I am done with this cycle. How exciting, and slightly like, oh. And on Sunday, which is the last day of my journey on this wheel, then or around this wheel, I should say, rather than I'm not leaving yet. That would be ironic, wouldn't it? Yeah, at 6 p.m. GMT, if you would like to join me, I'm planning a YouTube live, and just to close it off, really, because that feels like a correct thing for me to do. And maybe I will see you there. You are invited to come if it is correct for you. Would you like to come? I inform you that it's happening, and then you can decide for yourselves. So until then, and until a little bit later on, when I do the first line, I wish you joy and love, unconditional love, and yeah, go gently.